Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about the string-related information section we identified. Now we'll understand the string buffer related section here. So what exactly the string buffer, the constructor and methods will contain here, and we'll identify the differences between string and string buffer as well. Okay, so first we'll see the string buffer related example here. Now, what are the constructors we are having? Basically, first what we need to understand here. So string buffer, basically it is a modifiable string here. Okay. Whatever the string we are going to discuss is string is a fixed length. So once we define this particular string, we are not going to modify. If I want to modify any string, basically what we will do, we'll try to create a new string here. We'll try to create a new string internally. If you check any method, whatever the methods are returning the string related information, every method internally it is trying to create the new string object and it will try to return the data here. So for example, if I'm going to open this, now you can see get bytes method internally it is expecting byte array, and so this is also one more get byte method internally. Now you can see so string coding dot encode. If I'm going to open this internally, so it will try to create a new string information. So save stem internally it is creating, and you can see the array dot copy of it will try to create a new copy of values here. So instead of doing this, we'll identify equals method, content equal equal ignore case compare to method, and comparator we are using internally. So what are the method we are having? So those method is returning string related information. So these are all the boolean method, hash code, and index of, and this is also index of, last index of, and so this is also index of method we are having, last index of. Now you can see substring. Whenever we are trying to discuss about this particular substring, now internally it is trying to create a new string here. Okay, so this is all about the whatever the methods are returning internally string object. Now if I'm going to open this, you can easily understand new string. So they are trying to create a new string object here. So this is very important information. Any string which is trying to return the string related information internally, it will come up with a new object. So cannot return the same object because of fixed length here. Once object is created, we are not going to modify the string here. So once you are trying to modify, we are going to update it in the new string here because it is a fixed length here. And whatever we are discussing the particular string buffer, it is not the fixed length. So we can modify the string and we can return the same string object here. Okay. So this is the differences between string and string buffer. And now what we can understand, string buffer internally it is trying to global, like based on our requirement we can modify and we can delete the data here. So those information we cannot achieve inside this particular string class. This is very important information we need to understand. Okay, so now another important information what we need to understand here. Another important information, constructors. What are the constructors we are having? So if I want to explain the constructor, first we need to open the string buffer. Okay, so this is the string buffer class we are having, and now you can see this is also internally final class. Okay, this is also final class. So we cannot extend this particular class also. Now you can see abstract string builder. Abstract string builder. Now internally it is expecting some It is expecting something like interfaces, but fine, what we need to understand here, what exactly the abstract string builder will contain internally. Abstract string builder will contain internally. These are all the variable they declare here. So variable something like it is having byte here, and this is also byte here. Here it is expecting array value, it is expecting single value. This also single value. Now you can see empty value. They are trying to create a new byte with help of this particular zero size. Okay. So internally the default constructor it is returning this, and now you can see with help of this particular new byte, whatever the capacity we are having, based on the capacity, the size it is going to create it internally. Okay. Now what we need to understand here, another information. So based on this particular comparative method, basically it is a comparative method. We discuss about the how this particular comparative will return internally. Okay, length method. So capacity. Okay, ensure capacity we are having. So some of the method we are going to use from this particular abstract builder. Now we'll go for the first constructors. What are the constructors we are having? Now you can see this is the default constructor. Now if you observe carefully, it is calling the super 16. So which constructor it is going to call? Whatever the particular abstract string builder class we are discussing now. Now the string builder constructor it is going to call, and with help of this particular 16 values. What exactly the 16 value will contain now? If I'm going to show you this, it is a capacity. Okay, what is the default capacity we are having? So the default capacity 16. Now you can see entry capacity. With help of this, we are trying to create a 16 length characters here. Okay, because internally we'll store the data into the byte. So this is same as for the string and string buffer. But what we need to understand, default capacity we are having inside this particular string buffer as well as string builder also. But in the string, we don't have any information. In the string, we don't have any the particular capacity information. So how many characters, like how much the string length we are going to create, the particular length only internally it will create here. Okay. So now observe carefully. Once this particular 16 characters are completed, what it will do? What exactly it will do? It will try to increase the size of. It will increase the size of this particular byte, and we can insert the data. We'll see that how it is going to create internally. Okay, this is the first constructor, and you can call the second constructor with the capacity, and now you can see third you can specify. Third constructor you can specify with the string, but internally what is doing internally? They are trying to call the length. Along with the particular length, they are trying to appending the 16. Okay, so something like along with this particular string length, it will try to add a 16, the additional, okay, 16 additional length information, and later what it will do, it will try to call the super constructor. Okay, we discussed about the three constructors, and this is the fourth constructor. It is also same. Now these are all the comparative method. So comparative method we are having synchronize here. Okay, whatever the string buffer we are discussing, all the methods we are having synchronize. Now you can see this also synchronize. So why the synchronize is going to use whenever we are trying to discuss about the multi-threading concepts here. Okay, whenever we are trying to work on the multiple threads here, we can go for this particular synchronize methods. It will try to perform the one by one operations. Okay, so this is we discuss regarding this particular synchronization inside the multi-threading concept here. Right now. Now you can see any method. So if you check the any method internally, which is implemented based on this particular synchronizations only. Okay, but what we need to understand, it will try to call the all the superclass methods. Observe carefully. Compare to we are calling, and it is calling the super.compare to, but here we provide as a synchronize. Now you can see length method, we are trying to return the count, and capacity method, so it is calling the superclass capacity, ensure capacity, and again we are calling the superclass ensure capacity, and trim to size, like it is trying to reduce the size. Okay, this also we are calling superclass. So length method. length method. Now you can see internally we are calling super class length. Now super caret coded point, super dot coded point. Okay, code point before. Getting the point. Most of the methods it is calling super. So when it is calling the super, which class methods are going to execute? This is the class. So abstract string builder. Okay. Though we need to focus more on the abstract string builder here. Getting the point. We need to focus more on this particular abstract string builder because each and every constructor, each and every method. So it is trying to call the super class. So the super class we define as this is the abstract class. Okay. So this is the abstract class we define. So this particular abstract class will contain some abstract method and concrete methods as well. We'll identify the what exactly the methods will contain. Okay, what exactly this particular abstract string builder it will contain internally. Okay, so we'll try to discuss more about this information. First, see string builder and string buffer both are same, but only the difference here. String buffer now it is containing the synchronization. String builder cannot contain the synchronization here. So if I'm going to open this is the string builder class we are having, and this particular string builder class internally it is expecting same class. Whatever the class we discuss here, abstract string builder. Now you can see this is the abstract string builder, and this is the string buffer. So this particular string buffer also internally it is trying to extending from this particular same class called abstract string builder. But only the difference is this particular string builder class cannot have synchronized mechanism. Now you can see the same default constructor we are calling, super constructor it is calling, so parameters constructor and string related parameter and char related parameter. Okay, after this now you can call compare to method. So now you can see here we don't have any synchronized keyboard. Okay, append method. So we discuss about the concat method, same way the append method will call here. But internally what they are doing here, so string dot value of. We discuss about the value of method. It will try to return like it will convert it into the string type here. Once it is converted into the string type, now later what is doing it? They are calling the append method, and this is the append method. It is calling internally super dot append method. Okay, and so this is also one more append. It is expecting string buffer, and this is the one more append. It is expecting char sequence here, and this is the one more append. It is expecting so some multiple parameters from where to where we need copy and where to where we need to append information. So it is available inside this particular this append method. So this is the char array append method. Okay, append method is the overloaded method. It is expecting to come up with multiple types. Okay, now you can see these are all the different types of append methods. So delete method, delete caret method. Okay, we'll try to discuss one by one method, but the difference is basically here only synchronization. String buffer will contain the synchronization. String builder will not contain the synchronization. Okay, so this is only the differences we have. Getting the point. We'll try to cover up the one by one method. So one class we'll discuss it. So another class will contain same information. Now we'll go for the string buffer here. Let me create a string buffer constructors. String buffer demo. And inside this particular string buffer demo, what we need to understand here, I'm trying to create a constructor here. Okay, I'm trying to create a constructor. So how we can create a constructor? String buffer and buffer is equals to string buffer. Okay, So default capacity 16. Getting the point. We already discussed about this particular thing, default capacity. Now what I will do, I'm going to append here. So if we're not adding, how we can check this information? Otherwise, what we will do, we'll try to provide the string parameter. Okay, so this is the string buffer. If I'm going to run, now you can see it is trying to return the string buffer. How we are returning this particular string buffer? Internally, we need to identify the toString method. So basically, toString method internally, it will try to return the current object information. So if you observe this toString information, now what exactly it is doing internally? So this particular toString cache, if it is null, simply they are trying to create a new string and they are calling whatever we are having information. So we don't have this particular value as a null. Now what they are doing internally, they are trying to call the based on this particular UTF or Latin format. They are creating the new string and it will return something like it is trying to return the it will try to return the current objective. Because if you observe carefully, what we are doing, we are trying to create a new string here. Whenever we are trying to create a new string, internally, what happens internally? Again, string class toString method will call. String class toString method will call. So whenever we are calling this particular string class toString method, the string class we discussed in the last session, it is trying to return the current object. Okay, it is trying to return the current object information. Okay, so this is we need to understand how this particular object is returning internally. Now we'll go for the same where we define the example. Okay, so this is we define this particular string buffer and we identify this particular parameter we provided as a string. Based on this particular string, internally it is going to add 16 additional character internally it is trying to add a 16 the byte related spaces like length it is going to add and we can insert the data here. Okay, so this is we identified here. So once we print this, now what are the different method we are having? Buffer dot append method. Now you can see we can provide the another append here. We can provide this particular another append information. So how we can provide this particular another append here? Now we can write append method. Whenever I'm trying to add this particular append method, now you can observe carefully string buffer append. I'm giving the space here so that we can easily understand how this particular append is going to work. And one more append method. So one more append method. Here also I'm going to add same one more append here. If I'm going to run, now observe carefully string buffer append here. But what is happening internally? At the end of this particular string, it is trying to add the append information. But whenever we are calling this particular append, how it is trying to add into the particular byte array? Because what we need to understand here, so internally we need to focus on the length here. So everything it is going to work on the length. Now you can see ensure capacity internally. Okay, if you call this particular method internally, what happening internally? They are trying to load the current length here. So whatever the current string we are going to provide, based on this particular current, we are going to identify the length here. And after this, they are calling the ensure capacity internal. What it will do? It will try to increase this particular count. Okay, it is trying to increase this particular count here. Now observe carefully. Now this what happening internally. Now you can see. So if it is minimum capacity minus old capacity greater than 0, they are trying to copy here. Okay, they are trying to copy here. Array.copy of method, what it will do? It will copy with help of new length old values and new values here. Based on this particular old values and new values, it will try to copy. Now you can see we are creating new capacity with help of this particular minimum capacity. Okay, the new length it is going to create it. This is very important because of this particular behavior. Whatever this particular method we are having, because of this particular behavior, string buffer as well as string builder both are growable. Okay, based on our values, so whatever the values we are going to insert here, it will try to increase the size here. Okay, this is one of the important section we need to understand. For example, whenever I'm trying to put a breakpoint here, if I'm going to run this, from where it is calling, oh, this is the different information. Hmm. Here I will put a breakpoint here. Now you can see we call the constructor. Now I'm going to call the append method. So here we are passing the string. This is the first append. Now what we are doing basically, we are trying to make one parameter as a null, two string cache in null. Okay, after this we are calling super dot append. Now we need to focus on the super dot append. Now observe carefully. We are passing this particular str. Now str is not null. Str length. What is the length we are having? Something like 7. Okay, internally what is the count? 12. So 12 plus 7. How much we are having here? Something around 19. Okay, so what we will do, based on this particular 19, we are trying to check the ensure capacity internal. What is the value we are having? 19. Okay, now, so value dot length. This is the original, the byte array. Original byte array, what we are having right now? 28 here. Okay, 28. And the minimum capacity is 19. So this particular condition will not going to satisfy. So old capacity is something like how much? 28 we are getting. Minimum capacity 19. So if you see minimum capacity minus old capacity. Okay, minimum capacity and old capacity. What we are going to get basically here? Something 98, sorry, 19 minus 28. If I'm going to identify this, minus 9. I'm getting minus 9. Whenever I'm getting this particular minus 9, this condition is not going to satisfy. Okay, this particular condition, it will returning false. So whenever it is returning false, we are not going to increase the size here. We are not going to increase the size. So it is coming out of the particular ensure capacity internally. We are not doing anything here. Okay, so after this, what we are doing here? What is the count we are having right now? 12. Okay, what is the str we are having? So what is the latest append we are adding here? This is the latest one. Like it is a first append. Now you can see. Now you can see put string at. What it is doing this particular method. Now you need to understand here. So internally, if you observe carefully, we are calling str dot get bytes method. Okay, str dot get bytes method. So this particular get bytes method we discussed in the last example. Getting the point. So the same byte internally it is calling to set the values. To set this particular values. Okay, now I am going to call the same method internally. Now, what is the index right now? 12. And what is the str we are having? Append. Okay, now you can see. So we'll passing here index here, and we are going to pass the same coder and original value array. Okay, this is the basically original value array. Now, what is the size we are having right now? So now you can see up to the 11 we inserted the value, but 11 to 28 we are having some space here. 12 to 28 we are having some space. We can insert the value into this particular, between this particular size. Now because of this, we are passing byte array index, we are passing from the 12 index. From the 12 index, it will try to insert the data and a coder. So just for checking purpose, they are using this particular coder. But how we are getting this particular index here? This is important. Now if you see carefully, here we are getting a count. What is the count basically? 12. And what is the length we are having right now? So this particular length is 7. But how we are getting this particular count? This is important here. Okay. This particular count internally, whenever we insert the value, based on that, it is trying to returning the count. Now, if I'm going to show you count declared here, so they are trying to create the compare to and length here. Okay. Count basically, it is the length. How many characters, like how many byte values inserted into this particular string buffer, it will try to return the length information. So this is something like a count. Okay. Based on that, it is trying to insert the data. So this is, we identified how this particular get bytes method internally it is calling. Now observe carefully. We are calling str.getBytes here because we already discussed here. First it is expecting value array. Okay. And this is the index here. And whatever the str we are passing, so that str will comes under this particular coder. Now because of this particular str, it will try to copy all the information here. Okay, so this is a way of calling this. Now whenever it is completed, if I'm going to show you this, from the 12, it will insert the data. From the 12, it will insert the data. Now you can see, so 12 to 18. Getting the point, 12 to 18, now it is inserted. Now how much space we have? 19 to 27. 19 to 27, still we are having some space here. Getting the point, still we are having some space. So whenever we are having this particular space, we can insert one more append also. So now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to coming out of this. Now the count is now increased here. What is the count here? So earlier it is a 12, now it is increased to the 19. Now it is increased to this particular 19. Something like whenever you are calling length, it will return as a 19. Okay. So again, we are calling one more time the same append method. Why we are calling this time? Because second time also we are calling the same append. Now if I'm going to print this, returning this current object here, after this, again we are calling the append here. Now we are calling the superclass append. Okay, so again we can check this. What is the length? Again we are going to have the 17. And what is the count right now? 19. 19 plus 7. 19 plus 7. Getting the point. This is important here. Around 26 we are going to get. Now, if I'm going to move this particular method, what is the old capacity? 19. Sorry, 28. Yeah, this is the original capacity. This is basically original capacity. Now the minimum capacity we passed as a 26 here. Okay, minimum capacity we passed as a 26. So this is also, the condition will fail here. Now you can see condition is failing. We are coming out of this particular if condition. Again we are moving into this. I am trying to call. So this coder also not satisfied. After this, again we are calling the same str.getBytes here. Now if you see, from it will try to insert from 19 index onwards, and now it will insert the values. You can see 19 to 26. So this particular values now it will insert here. Right now, these values are 0. Once we come out of this particular get bytes here. Now if I'm going to show you this, it will try to insert 19 to 25. Okay, 19 to 25, it is inserted. Still, we are having two more indexes here. So two more indexes we are having empty. Whenever we are having empty, what happens internally? So if I'm going to call one more append here. If I'm going to call one more append, so at this time, whatever the default capacity we have, The default capacity now it is filled. It will try to create a new array, and based on this particular new array, it will try to insert the values here. Okay, so this is we need to understand here. The final one, I am going to explain the same append method. Instead of appending this, we can add a final append here. Okay, this is I am going to run the same example one more time. Now constructor we are calling, append method we are calling basically here. Now you can see what is the string. So basically it is a from where it is calling. Okay, so we'll release this because it is calling from the constructor. Okay, so this is the default string parameters constructor we call it. Okay, now what I will do, this is the append method I'm calling. This append I'm not going to check anything. We are trying to return, and one more append I'm calling. Okay, now you can see. So now you can see this is another append we are calling it. Observe carefully. Once we call this particular another append here, again I'm calling this particular append. This is the final append. Observe carefully. So now whenever we are calling this particular final append here, we need to understand how this particular example, how this particular information it is going to print like inserted into this particular byte array. Okay. Now observe carefully what I'm doing here. Here I'm trying to call, like initializing this particular variable as a null, and later I'm calling this particular super dot append. This is important information. Whenever I'm calling this particular super dot append, what happening internally? We are checking this particular values. Length we are checking. What is the right now length? 13. Now what is the count basically? It is a 26. So earlier up to the 26 we inserted here. So 26 and 27 we are having 26 and 27 we are having empty indexes here. Okay, so this is we identified. So 26 plus length, how much we are going to get here, we'll identify here. What is the minimum capacity? 39. Okay, what is the original capacity we are having? 28. This is the original capacity, 28. Okay, now here this particular condition is going to satisfy now. This particular condition now it is going to satisfy. If you observe carefully, it will return true. It is trying to returning true because whatever the value we are inserting, it is out of length. Whenever it is out of length, what we are doing basically, we are trying to copying the elements. First we are going to create a new some byte array, new big byte array we are going to create. After this we are going to copy the elements here. So now observe carefully how I am trying to copying here. Okay, now you can see condition is satisfying it. First it will not copy this. Okay, so now you can see arrays dot copy of method. So this particular method it will try to call after this particular new capacity. So what is the new capacity we are going to get? If I'm going to print this, the new capacity, what is the minimum capacity we are having? 39. Okay, right now whatever the capacity we are having, 39. Based on this, I'm going to create a new byte array. Okay, now you can see old capacity 28. Now again we are checking here new capacity, so 58. Okay, so this is the new capacity size. Okay, this is the new capacity we are having here. So once we are having this particular new capacity, what we are doing here, we are trying to check this condition. So the condition is not satisfied. So now you can see here we are having something like a max array size we are checking for the safe bound here. What is the safe bound we are getting here? something like this is the max capacity value. And internally, now you can understand here, based on this particular statement, here they are trying to use the ternary operator. Based on this, what they are doing here, they are trying to returning the new capacity here. So if it is new capacity less than or equals to 0, so no, it is not going to satisfy. So save bound minus the new capacity, again we are not going to get this particular less than 0. So it will try to return the whatever the new capacity right now we are having, something like 58. This particular condition, it is trying to returning false. It is trying to returning false. Okay, observe carefully. So now it is moving on to the else section. Because of this particular ternary operator, it is trying to move on to this particular else section. The new capacity, how much we are having right now? 58 here. Okay, so when it is calling this particular 58, it is going to copy the all the values. If I'm going to call this particular arrays dot copy of, okay, what is the new length? 58. And what is the original we are having? So this is the original one, up to 25. Okay, up to 25, it is already inserted here. Only we are having this particular two index spaces here. Now using this, now observe carefully, byte array we are creating. Okay, we are creating this particular byte array. Now based on this, what is the new capacity it is creating? 58 here. 58. All the 58 values, it is going to be empty. 57. 0 to 57. Getting the point? So this is the new array it is created internally. Because of this particular system dot copy of, it is trying to copy the all the values. It is going to copy the all the values. Now once it is copied here, now we are trying to returning the copy. We are trying to return this particular copy. Now you can see all the values are copied. Up to how many values it is going to copy? 25. Now you can see 25. Now you can see the red color because these are all the newly copied values. So 0 to 25 it is copied, and from the 25 to 57, still we are having the space, we can insert the values here. Okay, this is the way of increasing the byte array. How we are increasing? Because of this particular ensure capacity internally, they are increasing. And finally, whatever the value we are getting, they are trying to store into this particular value. So now this particular value, it is modifying to the 58 length here. Earlier, still if it is a 28 only. Now still it is a 28. So 0 to 27, it is a 28. But once I come out of this particular condition, so it is going to modify. Now if I'm going to check one more time, you will understand this. 0 to 57. 0 to 57. Getting the point? This is the newly created byte array. How it is updated? Because of this particular ensure capacity, we are creating the new capacity. Later we are trying to copy the values. Okay, this is important, we need to understand here. This is the way of increasing the byte array. After increasing this, they are trying to insert the value. Whatever the str we are having, it is trying to insert the value. Okay, if we want to understand this, we'll also identify this. Now you can see, so inside this particular value, from the 25th to something, we need to understand here. From 26th onwards, it will try to insert the new values. So now you can see, from 26, some values it is going to inserted internally. So you can see 38, 26 to 38. Getting the point? So this is the way of increasing this particular byte array internally. Okay, all the values internally, it is trying to creating inside this particular byte array. Okay, now you can see count, we are trying to increasing the length. So what is the count right now? 26 or something. Yes. Now it is going to modify. What is now the kind? 39. Okay, this is nothing but length of this particular string buffer. Length of this particular string buffer, it is going to return this particular 39. Okay, now I'm coming out of this particular append method. We are printing this. Okay, so this is the way of increasing the size, like the capacity internally. And finally, if I'm going to print this particular length here, finally, buffer dot length here. If I'm going to print, now you can see what is the length we are getting, 39. And the string it is printing the message. This is we identified here. And what are the different method we are having? So we'll try to identify the methods here. So length and capacity. Capacity basically, okay, if you observe carefully, I will show you the capacity so that we'll understand the differences here. Buffer dot capacity. So see the length and capacity differences here. Capacity we are having 58, length we are having 39. Getting the point? So capacity is nothing but up to how many the values we can insert into this particular string buffer. So that is returning as a capacity. Okay. And this is the original values. Like right now, how many values are inserted into this particular string buffer. This is the current filled values. Up to 58, we can fill the values. Right now, 38 values are already filled into this particular string buffer. Okay. This is the differences between capacity as well as length here. Getting the point. And along with this, we have another method. What is another method? So using this particular buffer dot ensure capacity. Ensure capacity, what we can do, we can provide the capacity explicitly. Right now 58 we are having. I'm trying to give as a something like 89. Okay, whenever I'm trying to give this particular 89, what happens internally? If I'm going to show you this particular ensure capacity inside the string buffer, it is calling the super dot ensure capacity. Now you can see if it is a greater than 0, it is calling ensure capacity internally. Okay, ensure capacity internally. So just now we discussed this particular method. Now observe carefully. We are trying to find out the old capacity and minimum capacity. It should be the greater, and if it is the greater, we are calling same rs dot copy of and new capacity. Okay, this is it will give you the important information we need to understand here. Finally, the ensure capacity method, what is doing internally? So it is calling this particular method ensure capacity internally, and this is the same logic internally. It is going to execute. And what is the condition we are having right now? So right now, what we need to understand here, minimum capacity. The minimum capacity we are following, like we are passing as a 89. Whenever we are passing here 89, what is the original capacity right now? Original capacity something like 39. Okay, and here we are going to have 89. 89 minus 39. So some greater value only we are going to get. Getting the point? Some greater value only we are going to get here. So what is the greater value we are going to get? Something like 50. So 50 greater than 0 condition will satisfy. This particular condition will satisfy. Once the condition satisfies, we'll try to create the based on this particular new capacity. Okay, based on this particular new capacity, it will try to create the same array with some bigger values. Getting the point? So this is the purpose of this particular ensure capacity. Explicitly we can increase the capacity here. Explicitly we can increase this particular capacity here. So this is the purpose of this particular ensure capacity. Okay, Sai, what is your question? I could not understand. 169.
169 lines, sir.
169. ఇది కామెంట్ కదా, జస్ట్ ఇది చేసే కామెంట్. సో జస్ట్ ఫర్ మెథడ్, ఈ మెథడ్ ఏం పర్పస్ చేస్తుందని ఇక్కడ రాసుకున్నారు. ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే ఓవర్ఫ్లో కోసం ఏమన్నా అంటే ఓవర్ఫ్లో అంటే వాల్యూస్ బేసికల్గా ఓవర్ రైడ్ ఏమన్నా చేస్తామా అనే దానికోసం రాశారు ఇక్కడ. బట్ ఇక్కడ ప్రస్తుతానికైతే ఎలాంటి లాజిక్ ఓవర్ రైడ్ ఏం చెయ్యదు. బేసిక్ ఏంటంటే ప్రతిదీ లెంత్ చెక్ చేసుకుంటాము. బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ద లెంత్ స్మాల్ ఉందనుకో, దాన్ని బట్టి న్యూ కెపాసిటీ అరే ఇట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు క్రియేట్ ఇట్. ఓకే, న్యూ అరే ఇట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు క్రియేట్ అండ్ విల్ మాడిఫై we'll copy the original values into newly created array. So that's it. We are not going to do anything here. అందుకే నేను ఇక్కడ డీబగ్ లో ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేశాను. ఇక్కడ ఈ వాల్యూ అనే దిస్ 2 లైన్స్, ఇది వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ హియర్. ఈ 2 లైన్సే ఇంక్రీజ్ చేస్తుంది, డిక్రీజ్ చేస్తుంది వాల్యూస్ ను. సో దానికోసం నేను ఇక్కడ ఈ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ డిస్కస్ చేస్తున్నాను. ఇది చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్, ఎందుకంటే ఈ కండిషన్ చెక్ చేసుకుంటాము. ఎప్పుడైతే బిగ్గర్ వాల్యూ వస్తుందో కండిషన్ సాటిస్ఫై అవుతుంది. సో సాటిస్ఫై అయిన వెంటనే ఆ వాల్యూతో మనకు ఒక కెపాసిటీ క్రియేట్ అవుతుంది. ఇంటర్నల్ గా ఇక్కడ బయట అరే మనం క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం ఎక్కడో. సో ఇది న్యూ కెపాసిటీ రిటర్నింగ్. ఇక్కడ అరే కాపీలో నువ్వు చూసుకుంటే ఇక్కడ బయట అరే క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం. సో సేమ్ సింటాక్స్ మనం ఎర్లియర్ ఆ ప్రీవియస్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మనం వాడాము ఇక్కడ. సో బైట్ అరే ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు కాపీ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు న్యూ బైట్. ఇక్కడ సైజ్ ప్రొవైడ్ చేస్తున్నాం. సైజ్ ఇది ఏదైతే న్యూలీ క్రియేటెడ్ ద కెపాసిటీ మనం పాస్ చేస్తున్నామో దాన్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని ఒక బైట్ అరే డమ్మీ ఆర్ వీ కెన్ కాల్ ఇట్ as a temporary byte array it is going to create, and internally system.array copy. Based on this particular system.array copy, it will copy the values here, original values and newly created values. All values it's going to copy into this particular copy array, and from this particular copy array we are trying to returning into this particular value. Okay, ఇది చాలా important here, because if you understand these 2 lines here, any collection frameworks, array related any collection framework, same method it is going to call internally, arrays.copy of and new capacity. Okay, these 2 are the very important sections here. Now come back to it. So basically it is a simple, the commented section, just understanding how this particular code it is going to work. They return the comment information. Okay, so come back to here. Ensure capacity we identified here. Ensure capacity we need to understand here. After this, length also we can set. We have one more method we can set for the length also. Set length here. Now whenever we are trying to set length this, if I am going to give as a 45, observe carefully how this particular 45 will work internally. Now we are calling set length, super.setLength. Again I am trying to check this. Now observe carefully, if this particular length is less than 0, we are going to get an exception. And now what we need to understand here, we are checking the count. What is the count right now? The count right now basically 39, and I am trying to give as a 45. Okay, before going to check here, what is the method we are calling? What is the method we are calling basically? Again we are calling the same ensure capacity internal. The ensure capacity internal, the same method we are calling, and right now what is the value I'm passing? 45. So if I'm going to pass this 45, based on this particular 45, right now the whole capacity is how much? 58. Okay, this condition is not going to do anything, because whole capacity is a bigger value, and the minimum capacity what I'm giving? 45. Okay, so because of this condition will fail. Once it is failed, it is coming out of this ensure capacity, and after this what they are doing is count. Right now count is a 39, and new length we are providing as a 45. Okay, so 45. After this, what we will do, we are going to call this particular method, we are going to fill null values. We are going to fill null values here. So empty values here, like the zero values are going to store into this particular newly created byte array. Okay, same thing what we need to understand here. So how this particular length method it is going to call internally, Observe carefully. I'm going to comment out the capacity. So we cannot give that much capacity right now. Okay. So we need to understand this particular length here. I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Let me run this. Now we reset to this. Okay, I'm calling this, and what is the new length we are passing? 45. Okay, we'll move on to the superclass length method. So this is the superclass length method we are calling. Ensure capacity I'm calling. And what is the capacity we are having? 45. And what is the old capacity? 58. Okay, old capacity is 58. So the 45 within the 58 only. Now you can see this will give you the false here. This is giving the false. Why it is giving the false? Because old capacity is a bigger capacity right now. Okay, old capacity is a bigger capacity. Because of this, now it is returning false. It is coming out of this particular if condition. We are moving into this. So this particular condition we need to check one more time. So count, what is the count right now? So now it is returning true. But first we need to check the count. 39 and new length is 45. Now what we are doing here, up to the 45, all the values are going to filled now. So observe carefully. Okay, what is the value right now we are having? So this is important. Carefully observe up to 39, right? After this particular 38, now 45. So whatever the values 39 to 45, we are having zero. But once I come out of this particular statement, okay, once I come out of this particular statement, now see carefully. So carefully observe what are the values now it is inserted. Up to 39 to 45. Okay, 39 to 44, we are not having any values. Still these values are zero. But here, what we need to understand here, the 285 length is modifying here. Okay, whatever the length we provided here, the length is not modifying here. So still the length is now, it is a 39. Okay, the length is now 39. So it is going to replace with this particular 45. It is going to replace with this particular 45. When it is going to replace here, after 45 only, we are going to insert the values. Okay, up to the 45, we are not going to insert the values. Now you can see count, it is returning 45. Okay, now what we need to understand regarding this particular set length method, explicitly we are setting the length and the values are going to store as a 0. The values to store as a 0. Okay, between the 39 to 45, those values will be 0 if you're trying to insert some values. Okay, even if you're trying to insert some values, you are going to get 0 only. For example, if I want to print any values, let me see any string buffer will contain any byte related method. Only get chars here. There is no byte information we are having. Okay, so this is all about the ensure capacity and length method. Okay, and we identify the append method. We'll try to discuss the remaining methods here. Observe carefully. Caret method. This is the same. Whatever the caret method we identified in the string class, same way we can call the caret method inside this particular string buffer also. Buffer dot caret method. So caret is expecting the index number. For example, if I'm going to give as a 41. Right now, what is the 41 character we are having? 0. Right now, we are having 0. Now you can see. So we are not getting anything here. Because why we are not getting anything? So up to the 45, 39 to 45, we given as a zeros. Explicitly, we are trying to increase the length here. Explicitly, we are trying to increase the length. Because of this, we are getting a nothing inserted. But if I'm going to insert something like 38 here, we'll get the values. I'm getting the values as a D. Getting the pen? I'm getting as a D. So this is important here. Whenever we are calling this particular set length method explicitly, it is trying to increase the length with 0 values. Like based on the data type, the values will be 0. So those values we cannot modify at all here. Once we increase the length, we are not going to modify once the values we make as a zeros. Okay, and we can set the values. So using this buffer dot set caret. Set caret, I can set here something like in the 40 location, I can set this particular character something like L. L is nothing but length. Okay, I can set this particular character here. Now, if I'm going to print this particular the string buffer, you can see it is appended with this particular L. Now you can see it is appended with L. Okay. For example, another important information. Buffer dot the same set caret method after 45. I'm trying to insert into 46. Any problem? Nothing. Still we can insert T. Okay. Still I'm trying to inserting C. What happening internally? Even though capacity 58. Okay, even though capacity is 58, what happens? What they are checking internally? They are trying to check the length also. Okay, the set caret method internally based on the current length, based on the current values what we fail, those values only we can modify. So this is indicating this particular error here. Getting the point? This is important we need to understand here. Basically, whatever the values correct now we fail, those values only we can modify. Okay. Now you can see the length 45. Now we are trying to inserting into 46 location. Because of that, we are getting an error. Now if I'm going to modify to 45, we don't have any objections here. Simply, we can insert the value. So, what happening internally? Again, because of this particular indexes. Okay, because of indexes. Indexes are start with 0. Length is going to start with 1. That we already identified here. Now, 44. You can insert this particular 44. Now you can see L and T. L and T. So this is the spaces here. Why we are getting this particular spaces? Because between we insert a 0 values. Okay, so this is important. The set caret method. The set caret method right now, whatever the values we fail, those values only we can modify. Even though the capacity we are having up to 58, we cannot insert the value into the new index locations. Okay, so it is trying to work on the length information. Based on the length only, we are going to modify. Okay, so any questions so far what we discuss here?
సార్ మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి చెప్తారా సార్ 13-14 మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి చెప్పండి సార్.
సో 13-14 బేసిక్ ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే మనకి లెంత్ ఇక్కడ ఏమి ఇచ్చాను, లెంత్ ఎక్స్ప్లిసిట్లీగా నేను 45 ఇచ్చా. సో ఇక్కడ నేను క్లియర్గా ఈ డయాగ్రామ్ వేస్తాను చూడు. ఇప్పుడు ఇనిషియల్గా 39 ఉండే. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ 0, ఇక్కడ 39. ఓకే, సో బేసిక్గా మన కెపాసిటీ ఎంత? సో కెపాసిటీ అనేది ఏంటంటే అప్ టు ఎన్ని వాల్యూస్ మనం స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చు అంటే ఆ వాల్యూస్ 40, ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి 58. ఓకే, సో ఇది 58 వరకు స్టోర్ చేయొచ్చు. 58 వరకు మనం స్టోర్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. బట్ ఇనిషియల్గా మనం ఎన్ని వాల్యూస్ స్టోర్ చేసాం? 39 వరకు ఫోల్డ్ చేసాం. 39 వచ్చేసి డి. ఇక్కడ చూసుకుంటే ఈ ఫైనల్ అపెండీలో ఒక డి ఉంది. కానీ ఎక్స్ప్లిసిట్లీగా నేను ఇక్కడ ఏం చేశాను, ఇక్కడ ఒక మెథడ్ కాల్ చేశాను. లైన్ నెంబర్ 11లో సెట్ లెంత్ మెథడ్. ఈ సెట్ లెంత్ మెథడ్ ఏం చేస్తుందంటే ఆఫ్టర్ 39 వరకు మనకు ఒరిజినల్ వాల్యూస్ ఉన్నాయి. ఇక్కడ ఈ వాల్యూస్ స్ట్రింగ్ బఫరు, ఈ అపెండ్, ఇంకొక అపెండ్, ఫైనల్ అపెండ్, ఇవన్నీ 39 లొకేషన్స్ వరకు స్టోర్ అయిపోయాయి. 0 to 39 వరకు స్టోర్ అయిపోయాయి. కానీ ఇక్కడ 45 ఇచ్చాను కదా, ఈ 48 వరకు 45 వరకు ఏమవుతుందంటే 40, 41, 42 సంథింగ్ అప్ టు 45. ఈ 45 వరకు ఏమవుతుంది, జస్ట్ లెంత్ని ఇంక్రీజ్ చేశాను కానీ నేను వాల్యూస్ ఇన్సర్ట్ చేయలే. అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, జీరో వాల్యూస్, ఎందుకంటే అది బయట అరే. ఇంటర్నల్గా ఆల్ ద వాల్యూస్ మనం బయట అరేలో స్టోర్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఇవన్నీ జీరో వాల్యూస్, అందుకే నీకు ఇక్కడ స్పేస్ వస్తుంది. ఎల్ నుంచి మధ్యలో టీకి మధ్యలో స్పేస్ వస్తుంది. ఎందుకు స్పేస్ వస్తుందంటే బై డిఫాల్ట్గా మనం జీరో వాల్యూస్ ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసాము. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు మన లెంత్ ఎంత, 0 నుంచి 45కి ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిపోయింది. ఎందుకు ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిందంటే ఈ మెథడ్ కాల్ చేసాం. సెట్ లెంత్ మెథడ్ కాల్ చేయడం వల్ల 39 నుంచి 45కి వెళ్ళిపోయింది లెంత్. బట్ 58 వరకు మనకు కెపాసిటీ ఉంది. సో 58 వరకు మనకు ఇంకా ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. కానీ ఈ 45 వరకే ఎందుకు ఈ మెథడ్ పనిచేస్తుంది, ఈ క్యారెట్ అనే మెథడ్ ఇక్కడ చూస్తే సెట్ క్యారెట్ అనే మెథడ్ ఈ 45 వరకే ఏదైతే వాల్యూస్ మనం ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసామో ఆ వాల్యూస్ని మాడిఫై చేసుకోవడానికి ఆప్షన్. కానీ ఇక్కడ మనకి స్పేస్ ఉంది, 58 వరకు మనం వాల్యూస్ని ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. అర్థమవుతుందా, 58 వరకు మనకు ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. కానీ సెట్ క్యారెట్ మెథడ్ ఇక్కడ వరకే స్టాప్. ఎందుకంటే ఇంటర్నల్గా లెంత్ మెథడ్ని చెక్ చేసుకొని ఆ లెంత్ లోపల ఏవైతే వాల్యూస్ మనం మాడిఫై చేయాలనుకుంటున్నామో ఆ వాల్యూస్నే మాడిఫై చేస్తుంది అంతే. కానీ కొత్త వాల్యూస్ని ఇన్సర్ట్ చేయదు, ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ మనకి ఇంకా స్పేసెస్ ఉంది. ఈ వాల్యూస్ అన్ని రైట్ నో 0, 0తో ఇన్సర్ట్ అయినాయి, అది మనం చూసాము. ఓకే, 58 వరకు డిఫాల్ట్ వాల్యూస్ 0, 0తో స్టోర్ అయ్యాయి. కాకపోతే సెట్ క్యారెట్ మెథడ్ ఫస్ట్ చెకింగ్ లెంత్ మెథడ్ విత్ ఇన్ ద లెంత్ మనం ఏదైతే ఇక్కడ 44, 40 ఏదైతే ఇచ్చామో అది విత్ ఇన్ ద లెంత్ అయితేనే ఆ క్యారెక్టర్ని మాడిఫై చేస్తుంది. ఓకేనా. సో ఇంకా అర్థం కావాలి అంటే, నీకు ఇంకా ఇంటర్నల్గా అర్థం చేసుకునే కేపబిలిటీ ఉందంటే నేను మెథడ్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తాను. సో లైక్ సూపర్ క్లాస్ మెథడ్ ఓపెన్ చేశాను. ఇండెక్స్ ఇక్కడ ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఈ ఇండెక్స్ని 46 ఇచ్చా అనుకో, 46 ఇచ్చాను అనుకో, అప్పుడు ఈ క్యారెక్టర్ వేసాం టీఏ ఇచ్చాను. బట్ ఏం చేస్తున్నాను ఇక్కడ, చెక్ ఇండెక్స్ అని ఒక మెథడ్ కాల్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే, చెక్ ఇండెక్స్ ఇదెంత 46, ఇదెంత లెంత్. ఓకే, లెంత్ ఇండెక్స్ మళ్ళీ చూడు. సో ఇండెక్స్ 46 ఇచ్చా, కౌంట్ వచ్చేసి మనకు 45. ఓకే, కౌంట్ వచ్చేసి 45. ఇక్కడ మళ్ళీ పోతున్నాను లోపలికి, ఇక్కడ ఏమవుతుంది, ఇది 46, ఇది 45. ఏం చేస్తుంది ఇక్కడ, ఇండెక్స్ ఎంత 46 లెస్ దాన్ 0, ఇది ఫెయిల్ అవుతుంది ఎందుకంటే 0 కన్నా పెద్ద వాల్యూ. అండ్ ఇక్కడ చూసుకుంటే ఇండెక్స్ గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు లెంత్, ఇక్కడ గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్స్ అని రాశారు కండిషన్. ఓకే, గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్స్ ఎప్పుడైతే మనం 45 ఇచ్చినా కూడా మనకు త్రోనే వచ్చింది ఎర్రర్. 45 ఇచ్చినా కూడా నాకు ఎక్సెప్షన్ వచ్చింది. ఎందుకు వచ్చిందంటే ఈ గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్స్ ఇచ్చినందుకు. ఇప్పుడు అర్థమవుతుందో మనం ఏదైతే బేసిక్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నామో, లెస్ దెన్, గ్రేటర్ దెన్, సో డబుల్ ఈక్వల్స్, సింగిల్ ఈక్వల్. ఓకే, ఇవన్నీ యూజ్ చేసుకొని ఏదైతే ఇప్పుడు డిస్కస్ చేసుకున్నామో ఆ క్లాసెస్ ఇక్కడ ఈజీగా అర్థమవుతుంది. అందుకే చెప్పాను ఎల్లుగా ఆ బేసిక్ ఆపరేటర్స్, ఆ సింటాక్సెస్ చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. అవి అర్థం అవుతే ఇక్కడ ఈ కోడ్ని ఈజీగా అర్థం చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు నువ్వు ఐడెంటిఫై చేస్తే ఇక్కడ ఇండెక్స్ ఎంత 46 గ్రేటర్ దెన్ ఆర్ ఈక్వల్స్ టు మనకి 45 ఉంది కౌంట్ లెంత్. సో అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, కండిషన్ ట్రూ అవుతుంది. కండిషన్ ట్రూ అని వెంటనే ఏమవుతుంది, ఈ ఎక్సెప్షన్ త్రో చేస్తుంది. ఇది ఎక్సెప్షన్ హ్యాండ్లింగ్ సెక్షన్. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ లైక్ అర్థమెటిక్ ఆపరేటర్స్ మనం యూజ్ చేసాము, కండిషన్స్ వాడాము, స్టాటిక్ బ్లాక్ వాడుతున్నాము, వాయిడ్. ఓకే, చెక్ ఇది నేమ్ ఆఫ్ ద మెథడ్ ఈజ్ ఎక్స్పెక్టింగ్ 2 పారామీటర్, ఎవ్రీథింగ్ వి డిస్కస్ హియర్. ఓకే, సో దీన్ని బట్టి ఇక్కడ కండిషన్ ఉండడం వల్ల మనకి ఎక్సెప్షన్ త్రో అయింది. ఇంత చూసాం, స్ట్రింగ్ ఇండెక్స్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ బౌండ్ ఎక్సెప్షన్ వచ్చింది. ఓకే, సో ఇది ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఎప్పుడైతే నేను అదే చెప్పాను, సెట్ క్యారెట్ మెథడ్ ఇంటర్నల్గా ఈ మెథడ్ కాల్ చేయడం వల్ల మనకి ఇంటర్నల్గా లెంత్ చెక్ చేసుకుంటుంది. విత్ ఇన్ ద లెంత్ ఓన్లీ వీ నీడ్ టు మాడిఫై ద వాల్యూ. సో ఇప్పుడు ఈ ఎక్సెప్షన్ త్రో చేయడం వల్ల ఇంకా ఇది చెక్ చేసుకోదు ఇంకా. ఓకే, ఈ కోడ్ను ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేయదు ఇక. సో అందుకని మనము కౌంట్ 45 ఉంది, ఇప్పుడు 44 ఇచ్చా. 44 ఇస్తే నాకు ఇక్కడ ఎలాంటి ఎర్రర్ రాదు, దానివల్ల ఈ వాల్యూస్ని చెక్ చేస్తుంది. ఇక్కడ చూస్తే సిహెచ్ బేసికల్ ఏంది, క్యారెక్టర్. ఆ క్యారెక్టర్ని ఇక్కడ నువ్వు చూసుకుంటే ఇండెక్స్ ఉంది, ఈ ఇండెక్స్ వాల్యూ ఇండెక్స్ మనం ఆల్రెడీ డిస్కస్ చేసుకుని ఇది ఒక అరే ఇక్కడ. ఓకే, ఇది అరే రెఫరెన్స్ వాల్యూ ఇదేమో ఆ పర్టికులర్గా ఇండెక్స్ వాడుతున్నాము. అండ్ ఇక్కడ వచ్చిన సిహెచ్ ఉంది కదా, సిహెచ్ని బైట్లో కన్వర్ట్ చేసి దాన్ని దీంట్లో స్టోర్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఇది టైప్ కాస్టింగ్. ఈ టైప్ కాస్టింగ్ ఆల్సో మనం డిస్కస్ చేసాము ప్రీవియస్గా. ఓకేనా? నేను అందుకే చెప్తున్నాను, ప్రీవియస్గా ఏదైతే కాన్సెప్ట్ మనం డిస్కస్ చేసామో ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ చాలా ఇంపార్టెంట్. అవి అర్థమైతే ఇక్కడ ఈజీగా ఈ మెథడ్ని ఈజీగా ఐడెంటిఫై చేయొచ్చు. సో ఇలా ఏం ఏం రాశారు, ఎందుకు రాశారు, కండిషన్స్ ఏంటి, అన్నీ ఈజీగా అర్థమైపోతాయి. ఓకేనా? సో ఇంకా మన క్వశ్చన్సా సెట్ క్యారెట్ మెథడ్లో?
No, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to stop this particular string buffer section up to here. We'll continue tomorrow. What are the different method we are having? Because we have some different method. We'll try to understand the difference method in the tomorrow.